Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, guys. I would like to say thank you for watching our video presentation, and I hope you and your family in good condition and happy situation. Well, we are from Group 1. In this opportunity, we would like to present analysis interculture in short movie The Silent Child. Okay, let me introduce my group members. The first is Davina Winnie, and the next is Alvina Putri, Amelia Septiani, Afiatus Sonia Anasagoras, Indri Prameswari Zahro, M. Sauki Fawaid, Irza Firmandi Majid, and the last is me, Meli Maulidia. Well, before we start our discussion, let's watch 10 minutes of the short film The Silent Child. Happy watching!
What time's cello tonight?
6.
Oh, God, you'll have to run in, Paul. Pippa's ballet at 5:30. I can't split myself in two.
Yeah, okay, chill, that's fine.
Sounds so weird when old people say chill.
Charming.
What time's the help arriving?
Joanne is arriving at... Yep, it's time to go. Grab your bags, please. Oh, God, she's early. Paul, can you go to the door and take Libby with you?
I'm leaving now, I'm already late.
Hi, I was just about to knock. I'm Joanne.
Yes, Suzanne, she'll be down in a minute. Thanks for helping us out. We have quite low expectations. We just want her to be a little bit more confident in time for school.
Right.
Anyway.
She has a hearing aid, but she won't wear it.
And I'm assuming there's no history of deafness on yours or your husband's side?
No. We only found out she was deaf when she was 3.5, which probably makes me a bloody awful mother, but because she had a bit of hearing in her left ear that was overcompensating, apparently that's common.
You're not an awful mother, it's very common. And you said she didn't qualify for a cochlear implant?
No, which was a real blow.
And what's her communication like? Does she know any sign language or is it just lip reading?
Just lip reading.
And her speech?
Not good.
Right, well, I'll probably start with a combination of speech and sign language just to see where she's at. A lot of children respond really well to sign because it's less frustrating.
I can't see that being the case. Libby follows what we're saying really well.
Right, well, I'm sure she'll be fine then.
Stop, you idiot! I'm on the phone.
OK, so make yourself at home. Sit down if you like. Liz, is someone here to see you?
Libby, can I have the remote, please? Libby. Libby,
Can I have the remote? She's usually happy when she's watching TV. She can be very difficult. I mean, sometimes we don't even know what's wrong with her.
Is there any pattern to that happening?
Oh, no. You know what they're like at this age. My other two were the same.
Mum, my exam starts in 25 minutes.
Yes, I'm coming. Seb's got his GCSEs and he got A stars in his mocks, so I better not make him late. Right, you got my mobile number? I'll be back in a few hours to see how you got on. You'd be brilliant. Bye, Libby, darling. How's it been?
Yeah, good.
I told you she was quiet.
Yeah, does she ever interact?
Yeah, she follows what we say really well. Trust me, when Libby's unhappy, you know about it.
Yeah, I think I'll just try with some more interactive stuff. I've got quite a few books I think would be useful. There is actually a really good app.
Sorry. Yeah, I've literally just walked in the door. Can I call you back in 5 minutes? Sorry. Yeah, tomorrow. I said, yeah. 8:30, yeah? Okay, don't worry. Bye. Sorry, that was Paul's mum. She's a bloody nuisance.
Oh, it's fine. I'll just bring some stuff to try her with tomorrow. Does she like the park?
Well, I haven't taken her since she was tiny, but I'm sure she'd love it. Yeah, it's only 5 minutes away.
Yeah, I saw it. Great.
Yeah, thanks, Joanne.
Okay, bye.
You moving in?
Oh, for Libby.
She's inside with Sue. She's in a good mood. Libby, I mean. Sue's never in a good mood.
Hey!
Oh, hey, Libby. Oh, sorry, the door was open.
Looks like you can have a busy day. I'm so sorry. I've got to shoot off again. I've got to take Paul's mum to the hospital.
Oh, no worries.
Bye, Libs. You be good. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you.
Right. Let's pack it back. Where's your bag? Come on. Let's get you some orange juice then.
I just wondered how she'll get on with the sign language at school.
How do you mean?
Well, I'm not sure that many people know it.
Well, she'd need to have an interpreter sat with her and extra support. And, well, I'm not trying to talk myself into a job, but I'd be more than happy to help.
Right, okay. I'm just wondering if we should be focusing more on the lip reading rather than the sign language.
Well, as it stands,
Okay, and the next is summary of short movie The Silent Child. The Silent Child is a British sign language short film written by and starring Russell Sanson and directed by Chris Overton, and released in 2017 by Zurich Film. It tells about a deaf 6-year-old girl named Libby who lives in a world of silence until a caring social worker gives her the gift of communication. The short film is a play by Joan. Russell Sanson is a social worker. Major Sai is Libby, a profoundly deaf 6-year-old girl. Sam Reese and Annie Cashel as Libby's sibling. Philip Yard as Father Paul, and Russell Fielding as Libby's mother, Sue. The short film begins with a social worker on her way to the house of a family with a deaf child, Libby. Libby is a 6-year-old girl who has been hearing loss since birth. During her life, only friends with silence. She also doesn't use sign language because in her house no one in her family knows about sign language. Libby's parents, Paul and Susan, are very busy and seem to care more about Libby's normal sibling. The main reason they hired a social worker was simply to prepare Libby to enter school with courage. However, we would have thought that Joan's arrival would bring a new color to Libby's life. Thanks to her trainer, she was able to communicate not through her mouth, but through gestures that hinted at something. Libby feels more alive and has the people she loves. Joan and Libby's relationship had a good impact on the development of Libby's communication skill. Unfortunately, it was not welcomed by Libby's parents, especially the mother. Her mother still wanted her child to be able to read lips instead of sign language. So she fired Joan and decided to send Libby to school with the aim that her daughter could live a normal life, where another dead boy had been and did fine. Susan firmly reasoned that she was Libby's real mother and knew what she was best for her. On Libby's first day at school, she cannot understand anything. She stands all day, alone, while the teacher talks as if Libby could hear, and the children play around her. Joan arrives at Libby's school. When the little girl spots her, she signed, "I love you." Joan, realizing Libby's future, alone with no communication and no support, began to cry, signed, "I love you" back, and left. Actually, what Libby needed was not school or other people's acknowledgement that she was normal, but acceptance by the family that she was a deaf child.
Interculturality communication. Of course, what we know is that there are many ways of kind of communication carried out by humans, whether by speaking, writing letters, chatting, telephone, and others. Some of the ways of communication just now are examples of verbal communication. There is also use of nonverbal communication, namely in the form of gestures, sign language, eye gaze, behavior such as silence, and others. So, in this section, we enter into any communication that is in the short film. Alright, it should be noted that almost every scene of this short movie uses verbal communication like ordinary people. Verbal communication use includes telephone and direct communication. The communication that occurs in the short movie focus on a small child who has a hearing loss, or you can call deaf atau tuli, ya. Her parents, who seem to have no support for their child, made the child feel lonely. We will continue from whatever nonverbal content in the movie. Entering to the ninth nonverbal is called juice said orange juice. Use hand gestures because as a social worker here, the only way to teach Libby a sentence is using a nonverbal hand gesture without pronouncing a sentence, so that the gesture shows or tells Libby that the hand gesture is saying a sentence. It's like orange juice. Then the 10th gesture, Ju said Ju moved his hand to take Libby to the park to see the duck by placing her hand in front of her mouth while moving her lips with the duck sentence like that, like quack quack, something like that. Then the 11th nonverbal, when Libby made her first nonverbal movement, which was as thought by Ju, which was the body gesture of saying orange juice. Then the 12th gesture was seen when Libby and Ju were playing in a park, and at that time they were eating a sandwich. Then Libby said, "I am full," with a hand gesture. This shows that without verbal, the teacher knows that more is full by the way the body gesture of her uses. And the next by nonverbal was shown by Libby, the child, when she was given orange juice by her sister, by saying "thank you" using sign language. The next nonverbal gesture is shown by Libby, who feels uncomfortable when kissed by her mom, by brushing her mother's kiss away with her hands and her head, trying to avoid the kiss. This indicates that she really doesn't want or is feel uncomfortable when her mother kisses her. Then nonverbal communicating is then shown by Libby when he feels something is wrong with her ears, by using sign language when she is with the teachers, Joe. Then there is the master's silent expressions when Joe, the teachers of Libby, know that Libby feels something wrong with her ears. Then the teacher's silent expression indicating that she feels sorry for Libby. When he used sign language to say that something is wrong with her hearing, this expression shows that there is pity for Libby, that she has a hearing loss, like a deaf. Then the last nonverbal communication in the short movie that we were analyzed, was shown by Libby when he was in formal school. She met Joe and said "I love you" using the sign language that Joe had taught Libby. Then Joe replied to, but with sad feelings. So that's the communication, either verbal communication or non-verbal communication, that we found from the short movie that we analyzed. Based on the results of the analysis on the movie, non-verbal communication contained in the movie, it was found that there were approximately 17 nonverbal communication performed. Among them are silent gestures and sign language. Here we describe what we got from the analysis of the short movie. At the beginning of the movie, we have shown nonverbal communication, namely the first gesture made by Libby's private teacher named Joe, because it can be seen from the face of the private teachers to Libby's father, who looks like she is not happy with the statement that was said, because it was felt that Libby or their child didn't have abilities that can be improved. Then the second is when Libby, who looks very angry when her mother or her mom tries to take the TV remote, it can be seen that Libby is trying to hold the remote so that her mother cannot take it, and is accompanied by the screams of a child that resembles something like cry. Then, the third nonverbal that we found was done by Ju. Yep, Libby's private teachers communicate with him using nonverbal gestures to play with Libby, where Ju hint at a sentence, namely like, can I play? Something like that. Then, the fourth nonverbal that we found was when Ju comfort Libby by pressing a toy that made a sound. It is expected that Libby has an interest in the object, so that it gives off a happy expression, but in fact, not at all. Then, the fifth is when the teacher gives more sign language to Libby. When her mother comes by using a pattern from her hand, which aims to say that her mother is coming. And the sixth nonverbal communication was seen when Libby, the deaf child who was sitting at the dining table with her family, was watching every mouth movement that came from the mouths of her parents and her siblings. Libby's silence gave the meaning that she seemed to be thinking about what they were saying, because he cannot hear, because she cannot hear, so she can only guess what they're said. And then the seven gesture or the seven nonverbal communication was shown by Joe when teaching Libby about animal shapes and names. This is aimed at more because she wants a response, either in the form of body gestures or in other forms of communication when Joe introduced the name and shape of the animal. Then the eighth gesture that we found in the movie was when demonstrating the meaning of a word, like milk. The teacher using the motion of her two hands as if squeezing the cow's milk. We will continue from whatever nonverbal content in the movie. Entering to the ninth nonverbal, it's called Juice said orange juice. Use hand gestures, because as a social worker here, the only way to teach Libby a sentence is using a nonverbal hand gesture without pronouncing a sentence, so that the gesture shows or tells Libby that the hand gesture is saying a sentence. It's like orange juice. Then the 10th gesture, Ju moved his hand to take Libby to the park to see the duck by placing her hand in front of her mouth while moving her lips with the duck sentence like that, like quack quack something like that. Then the 11th nonverbal, when Libby made her first nonverbal movement, which was as thought by Joe, which was the body gesture of saying orange juice. Then the 12th gesture was seen when Libby and Ju were playing in a park, and at that time they were eating a sandwich. Then Libby said, "I am full," with a hand gesture. This shows that without verbal, the teacher knows that more is full by the way the body gesture of her uses. And the next by nonverbal was shown by Libby, the child, when she was given orange juice by her sister, by saying thank you using sign language. The next nonverbal gesture is shown by Libby, who feels uncomfortable when kissed by her mom, by brushing her mother's kiss away with her hands and her head, trying to avoid the kiss. This indicates that she really doesn't want or is feel uncomfortable when her mother kisses her. Then nonverbal communicating is then shown by Libby when he feels something is wrong with her ears, by using sign language when she is with the teachers, Joe. Then there is the master's silent expressions when Joe, the teachers of Libby, know that Libby feels something wrong with her ears. Then the teacher's silent expression indicating that she feels sorry for Libby. When he used sign language to say that something is wrong with her hearing, this expression shows that there is pity for Libby, that she has a hearing loss, like a deaf. Then the last nonverbal communication in the short movie that we were analyzed, was shown by Libby when he was in formal school. She met Joe and said, "I love you," using the sign language that Joe had taught Libby. Then Joe replied to, but with sad feelings. So that's the communication, either verbal communication or non-verbal communication, that we found from the short movie that we analyzed.
So, in this film with title The Silent Child, I have analyzed that there are three cultural conflicts that occur. So, the first is misinterpretation. This happened because Libby's family didn't want to understand what Libby was feeling. So, the parents ordered one of the social workers named Joanne. After a few days of interacting with Libby and understanding the essence of Libby's problems with her family, Joanne understood that Libby's family, especially her parents, forced Libby, like a normal child, into entering school without any special support and guidance such as sign language teaching, which made Libby very depressed and objections. This is where there is a misinterpretation between the mindset of Libby's parents to Libby, because they demand Libby like a normal child. And the second is judgment. The reason for the judgment is that Libby's parents only assume that Libby's deaf condition cannot make Libby like other normal people, such as getting a decent job. In fact, Joanne understands Libby's condition, that she is smart, chill, and can be what she wants in the future. And the third is discrimination. With the two cultural conflicts above, there is a sense of discrimination against Libby. Due to the busy schedule of their parents and the lack of parental attention to Libby, they could not understand her condition. At every meal with the family, Libby is silent because no one wants to interact with Libby. So Joanne also understands that Libby also lacks of interaction with other people. Therefore, Libby just prefers to do things with Joanne than her family because she feels discriminated against.
Strategy. The strategies in dealing with the problem contained in the short movie entitled The Silent Child include: first, the problem is Libby's parents, especially her mother, don't pay much attention to Libby's development. Libby's mother actually looks too busy in her own world without thinking about Libby. When Joan explained about Libby's development at the time, her mother was busy taking calls. And when the call was over, Libby's mother didn't ask Joan what she was going to see. Strategy that can be used to overcome this problem is: parents must know the development of their children, especially children with special needs. This strategy is carried out so that parents understand the strengths and weaknesses of their children, because a child has a different grasping power and strength and has a different pace of development from one another. Libby's mother should pay more attention to Libby's development, especially Libby is a child with special needs. What is a comfortable way of communicating with Libby? What Libby does? Does Libby like going to the park? Libby's mother doesn't know. Without knowing the development of the child is very useful for the development of the child in the future. As a result of Libby's mother not knowing Libby's progress, Libby's mother set high expectation for Libby. Libby's mother took that Libby would rather use lip reading than sign language, and sent Libby to a mainstream school without an interpreter like other deaf children she knew. Second, the problem is Libby's mother often said goodbye just by saying the word "bye, Libby," without meeting Libby, even though Libby could not hear, so Libby doesn't know if her mother will leave. Strategies that can be used to overcome this problem is: communication with deaf people should be done face-to-face. This strategy is done so that deaf people like Libby can understand if someone is communicating with her. Without being face-to-face, a deaf person doesn't know if someone is talking to her. Likewise, with Libby's mother should have said goodbye to Libby, not just saying bye Libby without meeting Libby, so that later Libby would understand that her mother will leave.
Okay, next, we will discuss some solution after we know the cultural conflict that occur in the Silent Child short movie. In the context of misinterpretation, which is Paul and Suzanne have low expectation for their deaf daughter, Libby. But at the same time, they also want Libby to be more confident in school. From the movie, we know that the parents see Libby as a difficult child. They don't know what Libby's problem is, they don't pay much attention to Libby, and don't even understand the sign language that Libby used to communicate. For example, when we see this in the scene of the movie, that Libby makes her first non-verbal movement using a hand gesture which interprets that she wants orange juice. When Libby used the sign language, her parents didn't understand and instead thinks that Libby is hungry and they offers the butter to her. Another example is when Libby uses another sign language that refers to the word treasure, which actually means that Libby wants to look for treasure, but instead her mother thought that Libby said television. From the problem above, we understand that Libby is lack parental attention since her parents are busy with work and more focus on two other children rather than on Libby who has special needs. So from this problem, we can find some solution. First, as suggested by Joanna, who helps Libby to communicate using sign language, that Libby needs to have an interpreter and extra support. So it might be a nice thing if the whole family learn the combination of sign language and lip reading for doing the best interaction and communication with Libby. Well, because Libby doesn't interact with people around her, so the second solution is for Libby's parents should give Joanna the opportunity to help Libby learn the sign language, which make it easier for Libby to communicate and interact with the people around her rather than force Libby to follow speech therapy. Then, in the short movie, we can find cultural conflict in the form of judgment, which is Libby's parents judge that Libby's speech is not good. In fact, Joanne understands Libby's condition, that she is a smart child and can be progressing. Another judgment comes from Libby's grandmother, who judged that Libby's deaf condition cannot make Libby like other normal people, such as getting a decent job. From the problem above, the solution is that both Libby's parent and her grandmother should understand and appreciate Libby's condition and provide extra support for her rather than judging Libby's life and forcing her to be a normal and perfect child.
Okay, there are three analyses based on proof. First is adaptation, second reject, and third is accept. First, adaptation. Joanne starts her conversation with Libby using sign language, but it goes not too well at first. Libby is used to be silent all this time because her family aren't support her. But Joanne is not giving up. She always put much effort to comfort Libby so she can interact with her. In the next day, Joanne invited Libby to go to the park together. From then, Libby adopted herself easily by the time. Interact with Joanne using sign language is make her very happy. Libby learned more and more about sign language. She even know what our strangers speak to each other using sign language when she and Joanne were in a restaurant. Libby even talked to Joanne first using sign language comfortably. Libby started her first conversation with her family using sign language too. Libby was very happy to spend her time playing and learning sign language with Joanne.
Okay, next is the analysis based on the point of view of reject. So the first is the relationship between Joanne and Libby has had a good impact on the development of Libby's communication skills, and Libby has success in using sign language fluently. So Libby's parents, Paul and Sue, were busy and seemed to pay more attention to Libby's two normal siblings. The main reason they hired a social worker was simply to prepare Libby to enter school with courage. The second is when Libby is fluent in using sign language, Libby's parents refused to be able to use sign language, especially Libby's mother. So, Sue was originally hoping to get Libby talking because she can lip read well. So the fact that she was signing instead of speaking didn't go down well. Okay, the last. In the end, Sue insisted on sending Libby to a public school without specialist support. So she decides to send Libby to school with the aim of her child being able to live a normal life.
Okay, next is about analysis based on point of view in accept part. According to my point of view, after seeing the short movie entitled The Silent Child, the process experienced by the people who communicated in the short movie actually rejected it a lot. However, if analyzed more deeply, it turns out that there is also a receiving side. For example, in the last scene, when the mother Sue of the deaf child Libby refuses the advice of her child social worker Joan, so that their children do not need to be taught sign language. But as a social worker, the woman cannot go against what Libby's mother has decided, because she is only a social worker who can only teach and give advice. So, Joan don't have the right to regulate what Libby needs to do because Joan is not her parents. Finally, Joan, as a social worker, can only accept and with a little regret and pity for Libby for the decision made by her parents, that Libby does not need to be taught sign language. Okay, that is enough presentation from our group. Thank you and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.